Hello and welcome to episode number 100 of the Experience Maker live show. Boy, do we have a show for you today. I've got no fewer than 20 guests joining me today to share their favorite customer experience story. I can't wait. Hello, everyone. It's Dan Gingiss, the Experience Maker. Thank you so much for being here for our 100th episode spectacular. And without further ado, we are just going to get started. Here's how it's going to work. I've got 20 guests that are coming back to back to back to back to back, and each one has a 5-minute slot to tell you their favorite customer experience story. I'm going to hand it over to them one at a time. I'll introduce them. I'll get out of their way so they can tell their story. And if you stick around long enough, maybe you'll hear my story as number 21 at the end. First up, I am super excited to bring to the stage my friend and fellow customer experience expert, author, principal of Zeisler Consulting, Mr. Nicholas Zeisler. Hello, sir.
Hey, Dan, congratulations. It's such an honor to be here, and I can't believe I'm kicking it off. I hope that I'm just glad I don't have to follow any of these awesome people that are coming up.
Well, you see, you're just going to set the bar, and I know it's going to be really high. So I'm going to put you on the screen by yourself. Take it away. Feel free to introduce yourself and go right into your story.
Thanks so much, Dan. Nicholas Zeisler, Fractional Chief Customer Officer, Principal, as Dan had said, of Zeisler Consulting. And what a great opportunity to share this awesome experience that I had actually over the last couple of years. Now, when my partner and I had our home built several years ago, the contractor chose a Schlage lock. It's one of these keyless, programmable locks for the front door. A couple of years ago, it started to malfunction, and it was just kind of strange. I didn't know what was going on. The limit to my mechanical capabilities was I changed the battery on it, and it still was just beeping incessantly, and there's something going wrong with it. So I looked for solutions possibly online. You know, YouTube is a great source for that sort of thing. And eventually what I did end up doing was calling customer support, figuring maybe they could walk me through some sort of factory reset series of push button things to do on it. But before I really could even get into what my concern was, the lady in the customer support line, she says, "Why don't you just give me your address and I'll send you a brand new lock?" I was like, well, actually, I'm pretty certain that this thing is no longer under any sort of warranty that y'all might have. As far as I know, my contractor, who was not the most above board guy, might have actually gotten it in the alley behind the Home Depot or something like that. She said, "Don't worry, that's our policy." Now, obviously, this is a story about Schlage locks being one of those no excuse, no questions asked, return, replace, exchange brands, right? So here's the thing. Now, everybody's familiar with other brands like this, Land's End or Trader Joe's. These are companies, these are brands who are famous for that sort of policy. And I guess maybe we don't know about Schlage being one of those because people buy fewer locks for their homes than they do clothes or groceries or something like that. So this worked out. A couple days later, I got it. I was able to install it without any trouble whatsoever, and I've been happy with it ever since. So here's the thing. It may not be right for your brand to have a no excuses exchange, return, refund policy. Sure, absolutely. But there are plenty of reasons why it would work if it does. And here are some based just on this one experience I had. First of all, it sends a message as a brand. Schlage is sending a message, a couple messages, in fact. One of them is faith in their own product. They feel that it is of such high quality that it's so rare that they can actually withstand and take the cost of having this policy in place. It also says something about their feelings towards me. It shows trust. It shows faith in me that I'm not going to take advantage of it. Now, surely I had to give them my address so that they could send it to me. So somewhere in the ether of the Schlage company database, I'm in there somewhere so that they can keep track. But that's the thing. Their exception policy goes in the opposite direction that most brands. Most brands say no, and then they make an exception if the customer is belligerent enough or it's so obvious that they're going to have to make a replacement. And then they make you jump through all these extra hoops. The other thing that it does is that it shows that, Dan, I'm so excited about this. It also shows that that they have faith, as I said, in their product. It shows that they have faith in me. And then here it is that I am on, of all things, the 100th episode of the Dan Gingiss's show. By the way, go out and buy the book, The Experience Maker. Highly recommend. And I'm sharing it. You know, Dan, that I'm not a huge fan of NPS, but would I recommend Schlage locks? Absolutely. Here I am doing so to your vast audience. Here's another nice thing about it too. Simply from a business process perspective, Schlage saves money, saves resources, saves time. Surely it saves me time as a customer, as I don't have to jump through all of their hoops, but also they don't have to employ as many supervisors for escalations. They don't have to keep as much bookkeeping on file if they don't make me jump through all the hoops and make that exception to say no to their otherwise much more generous policy. So Dan, what I recommend is, if it works for your brand, and there are plenty of reasons, plenty of brands for whom it will not work, and I understand that, but if it possibly can, these are the benefits of having a policy like this. Dan, I can't hear you. I'm the one that should be.
I love it. I love it. And thank you so much, Nicholas. And also be sure to check out We're Doing CX Wrong and How to Get It Right by Nicholas Seisler. And some guy wrote the forward to it. I don't know who you picked for that, but a fantastic book, a great read. Thank you so much for being here, sir. Really appreciate your story. We'll see you soon.
You bet. Congratulations again, Dan.
All right. Thank you. Okay, we're going to keep it going. I'm going to introduce our next guest. I am super excited to bring to the show the Director of Operations and Customer Experience at Curbside Kitchen, Mr. Tony Amante Shepers. How are you?
Hey, Dan. Doing? Good to see you. Good to see you.
Always trust the bald guy. I couldn't wait long enough to have another guy with the same barber join the show. So thank you so much for being here, Tony. I remember our interview and really enjoyed it. Love what you're doing at Curbside Kitchen. Thank you. Go ahead, introduce yourself and take it away.
Awesome, Dan. Again, congrats. That's quite an accomplishment on your end. I work for Curbside Kitchen. We bring food trucks to events, to commercial real estate buildings, and we've been doing so for about 3.5 years. Have contracts with the federal government, with universities across the United States. Very, very excited. However, my story isn't about my current job, but one I had in the past. It's interesting because it speaks to what your buddy Joey Coleman says, the H to H, the human to human connection, not just B to C or B to B. So this happened a few years ago. This was before COVID, or as I call it, years BC. And I was Director of Operations and Customer Success for a budding hotel chain, an international hotel chain. They had just come to the United States from India, and we were looking to expand the market. I was tasked with leading 25 hotel managers to onboard new hotels to our system, show the new hotels our brand, our market value, how they can help their customers better, et cetera, et cetera. Get these hotels under our umbrella, our flag, as the industry calls it. And so the sales team earned a contract with a hotel owner in the state of Virginia who owned multiple locations, multiple properties in Virginia. And the hotel owner gave us 3 properties to start, and I think he had about 6 more he was contemplating giving us. At the time, my employer was trying to penetrate the market more, and was essentially giving these hotels cash, at times without asking too many questions, with the anticipation that they would invest that money into updating what would we call a dilapidated property off the highway, a motel, a sort of mom and pop 25, 30 room place. What happened was that this hotel owner was spending the money not on his properties, not the properties that we were partnering with him, but elsewhere. And so these facelifts were not occurring and the partnership was souring. After discussing with my boss, we agreed that we would have one of 2 options: either slap his wrist, take him to court, demand the money back, and he would probably dredge our hotel company through the mud, and we would lose many, many contracts. Or we do the human-to-human approach. And so instead of making a relationship worse, we kind of cleared the air. I decided to take one of the 25 persons reporting to me and post them at his 3 properties. They kind of ping-ponged across that area. That person invested a lot of time and money, brought donuts every morning to the property staff, to the guests at the property, showed the property employees, how to make a room better than what they had been doing, invest time, show them our operating system, show the benefits of us. And over time, this property owner was, believe it or not, seeing an increase in the number of guests staying at their property, seeing that the reviews were going up a little bit, even though the facelift of the property hadn't happened yet. And so over the course of a few months, the property owner could see this investment on our end, tremendous investment. And he started doing so himself. He saw that, maybe this could be a give and take. And he saw the benefit of this investment from our end. We saw the benefit of the investment from his end. He upgraded his linens. He changed the soap, all these little things that make a difference in a guest stay, even if it is a cheaper and less well-known brand. And over time, we were able to then raise the rates because the demand was increasing. So all this trickled down into the experiences that the guests had. They would leave better reviews. They would have a nicer stay. The morale of the staff at these hotels was increasing. So I love to tell this positive story. And I actually had a negative story to share, but I took a page out of your book, Dan, and you only tell positive ones because you can still learn from those. The relationship was great. The interaction was wonderful. And I say there's no better industry than the hospitality one to learn from when it comes to customer experience.
I love it, Tony. Great story. And I totally agree with you that you don't have to be the most expensive. It's not just the Four Seasons that can create a great experience. Right. You can be pretty much anyone in the industry. So thank you so much for the story. We really appreciate it. Keep doing great things at Curbside Kitchen. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome, Dan. Best of luck and congrats.
Thank you. All right, our next guest is coming to us from across the pond. He is the original CX rock star. He's also the CS ambassador for Pegasystems, the one and only Mr. James Dodkins. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on the 100th episode.
Well, thank you. When I started the show, it is. I started the show in February 2020. Who knew the whole world was going to change and that being virtual was a good thing? And I'll tell you, as long as we keep having amazing guests, we'll keep doing the show. So you were certainly one of my faves. You are always exciting. I cannot wait to hear your story. So take it away, James.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you a story about culture. So companies always want to change their culture, but we really need to understand that culture is just a collection of consistent behaviors, and our behaviors are defined by our attitude. So if you want to change your culture, the first step is to change your attitude. Now, one of the quickest ways to change an attitude is with a strong, emotive, and authentic purpose. Now, the story I'm going to tell you highlights this perfectly. Now, this story is about Southwest Airlines, who I think are a rock star company. Now, this story has been told many, 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 many times in many, many, many different ways. And as a result, some of the specifics have maybe got changed along the way. So what I'm trying to say is this story is based on a true story. So Southwest Airlines, their purpose is to connect people to what matters most. Now, remember that because I'm going to come back to it later. So this story is about a man called George. George had a daughter and she had a son, and George loved his grandson very, 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 very much. They lived apart in different states, and he flew to visit them whenever he could. George's daughter was bringing up her son all alone as a single mum until she met someone who she eventually married, and this became George's grandson's stepdad. Now, George was extremely happy for his daughter and his grandson until one day he got a phone call from his daughter. And she explained that her new husband was actually violent, and she hadn't told anyone before, but things had gotten worse and things had gotten out of control. And the man had actually hit George's grandson. He'd hit him so hard that the kid fell into a coma. Now, George carried on the visits, but this time he was visiting the grandson in hospital. And every time he'd get back home after the hospital visits, he'd sit by home just waiting for his daughter to call and say that he'd woken up. And one day the phone did ring and he answered it, hopefully. But what he heard shattered him. His grandson's condition had worsened overnight. And the decision had been made to turn off his life support machine at 9 p.m. that night. And if he wanted to see him one last time, he was going to have to move quickly. So George didn't hesitate. He rang Southwest Airlines. He explained the situation. They managed to get him on a seat on the last flight that afternoon, jumped in his car, drove to the airport. He was on the freeway. And then all of a sudden, the traffic started to slow. And then it started to crawl. And then it stopped. There'd been a bad accident. Now, George stayed calm, but as 10 minutes turned into 30 minutes and 30 minutes turned into 60 minutes, he started to realize he was going to miss his flight, and everything hit him all at once. He wasn't going to be able to see his grandson that one last time. He wasn't going to be able to say goodbye one last time. He wasn't going to be able to get to tell him that he loved him one last time. But then all of a sudden, the traffic started to move, and he saw a gap, and he saw a chance. He put his foot down and he drove like he'd never driven before. He got to the airport. He raced through security to try and get to his gate. And the thing is, he knew in his heart that the plane would have left. He knew he'd missed his slot. But he still ran anyway. Like maybe there'd been a technical fault and the plane was delayed. Maybe there was a scheduling issue and the plane had been delayed. Maybe there was that chance that he could make it. Maybe there was that chance that he could see his grandson one last time. He saw his gate in the distance and he ran towards the airway. And just as he got to the entrance, a man stepped in front of him, grabbed him and stopped him. And George cried out. He said, please, 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 let me go. You don't understand. I have to try. And the man held George firmly. And he calmly said, please, sir, relax. George wiped the tears from his eyes and he looked at the man in front of him, and he was smartly dressed and he was in a white shirt and he had blue trousers. And he was holding a blue hat under his arm. George was really confused, but the man said, the plane cannot leave without me, and I will not leave without you. The pilot had heard about the situation and made the decision to wait for George. He knew that his job wasn't to fly a plane. It was to connect people to what matters most. Now, that's how a purpose affects attitudes. Attitudes affect behaviors, and behaviors become the cultures that are loved by millions of people all around the world. Southwest Airlines is a rock star company for many reasons. I believe that their purpose is one of them.
Unbelievable, James. What an incredible story. You had me like hanging on every single word. I wanted to know how this story was going to end. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. I love, by the way, that the British guy is sharing a story about the quintessentially American airline that I don't even think flies to you. but
it doesn't. Well, you didn't say my favorite British story. You just said my favorite TX story. So there you go.
It's awesome. And they are a rock star company. I definitely agree. You are a rock star, sir. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate the support.
Thank you very much.
All right, we are going to stay over there in on the other side of the pond in Europe, and we're going to bring on the co-founder and board member of NextWorks, my friend Steven Van Belleghem. How are you, sir?
Hey, Dan. Good to see you. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm very honored to have you here. Excited to hear your story. I'm just going to send it to you and take it away.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and congratulations with the wonderful event. I just heard that 2 cases before we were talking about the hotel industry, and I would like to stay in that industry. During Christmas holidays, I had the pleasure to travel with my family and some friends to Dubai. We went to the World Expo, and it was amazing. And we stayed in a fantastic hotel, the Atlantis the Palm Hotel at the end of the Palm. It's an iconic hotel in Dubai. And I was impressed by every detail of their customer service and their proactivity. And I had the pleasure to meet the CEO of the hotel. He's actually from Belgium, just like me as well. He's been working for the Four Seasons all over the world, and now he's the CEO of Atlantis the Palm. And I asked him, I said, you know what, Tom, his name is Tom. I said, Tom, I noticed that every single employee in your hotel is like over the top focused on customer experience. They're extremely proactive, and it's in details. I remember they have this huge water park, and I was there with 4 children, and they had lunch, and I had to carry all these plates and the garbage to a garbage bin. And I was approaching a garbage bin that was apparently way too small for everything that I was carrying. And suddenly, out of nowhere, just some of their employees popped up and took things. He just took everything out of my hands and fixed that for me in just 1 second. And that's just one minor detail that is for me a symbol of their customer experience. So I asked him. I said, how do you manage to make sure that everyone is so engaged towards your customers? Because this is one of the key challenges that many of our customers face every single day. And his answer was really brilliant. He said, Stephen, he says, we only have 2 focus areas here in our hotel. That is safety for our visitors, and that's customer experience. And our goal is to surprise and to do something better and more every single day. And I told him, yes, that makes sense, but that's what everyone is trying to do. But you guys succeed and others don't. He said, you know what? It's because our entire day is focused on customer experience. It's not something that we do on top, besides all the other stuff that we're working on. The core of our time that we spend as a management is on customer experience. So basically, they start every day, 7 out of 7, every day with a customer meeting, with all the funny and strange requests and all the funny and strange complaints that they have. And then they look at them and they say, are some of these points valid? And if so, can we improve that service as from today? If it's not invalid, then let's figure out a way how we can personalize our service for that specific client so that we can still help them. And you know what? He reminded me to Dr. Wolf from Pulp Fiction. I don't know if you've seen Pulp Fiction, but you have Dr. Wolf. If something needs to be done, you call Dr. Wolf and he takes care of things. And Tom, the CEO of Atlantis Upon, he was like Dr. Wolf. If there was an issue, a problem where they couldn't deliver the service that they wanted, he made sure that became possible. And he told me, because of that behavior, because of the fact that I'm so focused on that every single day, and it's the first thing that I start with, every employee just knows that for me, customer experience is the most important part of my job. There is no doubt about that. And I was so impressed that you can have a hotel with 1,800 rooms, with more than 1,500 employees, of which most just started working there in the last 12 months, that you can deliver such a level of service and such a spirit. And he also has this philosophy that he wants to hire 30% more staff than any other hotel in Dubai, because he really wants to outservice everyone else. And I asked him, but I mean, how does that work with your financials? And he said, well, we're 95% fully booked the entire year. And the average spend that we have in our hotel is like twice as high as in the second one. So people come here, they're extremely happy, and they spend so much money that we're extremely profitable and that we're doing an extremely well business here. But it's thanks to the customer experience. The customer experience is the core. That's where we start. And the result is that we're making a lot of money because people come back, people talk about us, and people get really excited. And, this was my holiday, but it was so inspirational for me to meet someone like him. And it made so much sense. Dan, I think you and me, we meet people and company leaders every single day that want to be customer-centric, but they don't succeed. And in my opinion, it's because, they do customer experience on top of things, and it's not the core of what they do. And that was so simply put from this guy in this hotel, but I think it makes so much sense. So I was truly impressed with that.
Man, it's all about the culture, and it does start at the top. I know those seem like they're cliches, but they're absolutely right. And 2 things that stuck out to me about your story. Number one, it's hard to impress a customer experience person, because we do this every day and we talk to so many companies. So the fact that you were impressed, says a lot. I also love the fact that you were talking about this seemingly innocuous point of the journey. You're just tossing out some left some food and some packaging from having a meal. It's not a point in the journey where you necessarily expect an experience, but it's such a great opportunity for them to provide you one, because it's kind of a different sort of surprise and delight, right? And that's what made it memorable.
It is, and it's not a touch point. You could say check-in is a touch point, going to a restaurant is a touch point. It wasn't a touch point. It was just me being in trouble with all the leftovers, and they solved that. And it's those small things where you can really feel the culture of customer experience.
That's great. Stephen, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Keep doing the great work that you're doing. And I hope at some point that you and I get to meet IRL someday.
Me too. Thank you very much. Congratulations. And thanks for inviting me, Dan. Good luck with the rest of the show.
All right, you got it. Take care.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
All right. I say it's time to bring some female voices to our stage here. I did put this in sort of no particular order. So I'm super excited to introduce you to the founding principal of M4 Communications, Sue Duras. How are you, Sue?
Great, Dan. How are you doing? And congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. Excited to have you here. I remember our conversation as well on the show. And so I'm super excited for your story. I'm going to just hand it right over to you. The stage is yours.
Fantastic. Well, my story is more of a learning moment. And keeping with the UK theme, I'm a UX expat living in the UK. And I got here in 2019. And I was working with a lot of clients flying all over the place. And this is a story, a learning moment about British Airways. Up until what happened to me, I was a huge fan of British Airways, and I was totally loyal to them. So I was flying between London and Edinburgh, Scotland a lot. And on this particular trip, British Airways lost my luggage. I flew to Edinburgh. It didn't show up in Edinburgh. They said that they would send it to me in Edinburgh. I had my meeting, no luggage, got to the Edinburgh airport because British Airways said, oh, your luggage is in Edinburgh. My luggage was not in Edinburgh. I flew back to Heathrow and they couldn't find my luggage, and it took them a week to get me my luggage back, and it was a commuter flight. And being a CX person for many, many years, I am very tough on brands, but I'm an equal opportunity commenter, and my choice of commenting is on Twitter. I will praise brands that are great, and I will definitely critique brands that were bad. And I put a very bad critique of British Air on Twitter, and they came back with, don't call us, we'll call you. We really don't care. And what happened was a journalist picked up my tweet and contacted me, and I was in an article that hit the Sunday Times, the Times, and the Daily Mail about how bad British Airways luggage losing or delayed was. And for someone who's only been in the UK for a while, I was excited that I got all this publicity. But what it turned out to be, it actually helped British Airways. They learned from this. They learned about the bad press. They actually improved the luggage and the luggage system. And I feel like I had a part to play in that. And I think it's important to learn, for brands to learn that until you care about the customers are going to care about you. And British Airways understands that CX is the differentiator. It's a competitive advantage, and it does impact the bottom line. And they improved because of that.
Well, I'm glad that it's a story that ends well, and it certainly shows the power of social media as well. I always like to say, you don't want people to use social media as the channel of last resort, because by that time they're already mad, and you're probably not going to like what comes out of their mouth. So I'm glad that there was a takeaway and a learning moment from this. So,
absolutely.
Sue, thank you so much for being here, Sue. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. And again, congrats.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on to another friend of mine. You might notice that all of these people are my friends. I so enjoy being with them and learning from them and having them on the show. So, by the way, if you have not seen all the previous episodes, they are available on my website and on YouTube to go back and watch all of these genius people share tons of knowledge bombs. And speaking of genius people, I'd like to introduce you to the head of customer experience and employee engagement at Schindler Elevator Corp, my friend, Stacy Sherman. How are you?
I am great, and I hope that my dogs cooperate because they're fighting right now. So you
No
gotta
worries.
love live.
We're all used to it, not a problem. Stacy, go ahead and take it away.
Yes, one of my favorite stories is shows the value and the blend of marketing and customer experience. And this story actually ignited my love of both fields, which again, I think there's a blend. And it has to do with a brand called Stacy's Pita Chips. So one day I was home and I got a box that looks something like this. Hopefully you could see at my door. And it was actually bigger than this box that I'm showing. So I wasn't expecting anything. It just said Stacy on it. And this is a couple years back. So I open it, and in the box is a ton of products that's Stacy's Pita Chips. And you can imagine, I mean, there's a lot of bags in this big box. And there's a note that says, to Stacy from Stacy, who Stacy was the owner of the pita chips. And she wrote, I'm sending this care package to all the Stacys in America who spell their name Stacy. And I called my friends who were EY, and they didn't get the package. So all of us who had the same spelling as her for whatever reason. And it was a very personalized note. Point of story is it was a wow moment. There were coupons in the box, but there was this personal message and a connection to all the Stacys out there. And I thought it was a brilliant marketing play, but customer experience. And here I am talking about the brand to you as an advocate. I love the product, but I love the experience that I had. And I think that it's a great example of what we can do, not even spending that much money, but connecting with people in different ways.
I love it. And only you could tell this story, Stacy, just like I'm the only one that can say my joke of I like working for the Dan better than I like working for the man. So that's awesome. I think it's so cool. And such a great marketing campaign. I would imagine that it led to a lot of social sharing just because there was this big surprise to it and the connection point, like you mentioned. So thank you so much for sharing. Great story. Stacy, you are rocking it. So keep doing what you're doing because I love reading all of your work and seeing all of your work, your podcast, everything that's going on. It's great stuff.
Thank you so much.
All right. We are going to keep on moving. Man, I told you this was going to be a fast-paced show today, and I did not lie. Next up on the stage for a customer experience story is the founder and chief experience officer of Experience Catalysts, Diane Majors. Welcome, Diane.
Hello, Dan. Congratulations on your wonderful milestone here.
Well, thank you so much. I am having so much fun celebrating with everybody today, and I can't wait to hear your story. So go ahead and take it away.
Well, all of you who are CX professionals probably have family members who kind of understand what you do. And I want to share a little story about my daughter and a place that she worked at. And I hope if you have Kleenex handy, I may start crying, but if you have Kleenex handy, you might need them. My daughter loves dogs and animals. And one of her summers a couple of years ago, she went to work for a vet who she came home the first day and she said, Mom, this vet is so pet parent sensitive and centered. And it's all about the experience for him. She was so excited to be able to share that she recognized what that meant. And so when I asked her about the things that he did differently, she said, well, for example, when you bring your pet in, you can choose your own adventure. Which means if your pet is scared of other animals, that you can immediately come in the lobby and go into a private room. or if you have, you want to enter through a back door with your cat or a very sick pet, they have a way for you to come in there so you're not embarrassed, or if they're, having issues, that something would happen. They have water for all the pets that they change every time a different animal comes in. They have chew bones in the rooms for the dogs when they're done with their assessment. And so she's sharing all these things that are happening, but she said, Mom, one of the things that I recognized is the hardest thing for the staff and the pet parents and the vet is when they have to euthanize an animal. And she said what they do is the vet, the head vet, there's 4 or 5 vets that work at this office. The main vet, the person who owns the practice, is the one who does all the euthanizations. And the pet parents are encouraged to be there. If they can, it's okay if they don't. They bring in the staff who has cared for that dog if they're on working that day. And what they do before they euthanize the animal, if possible, is they give that dog a chocolate kiss, the little wrapped ones in chocolate, because dogs are not allowed to have chocolate. And at the moment that they're stepping onto the Rainbow Bridge, they provide that dog with something that's a sweet treat. And they found that the pet parents, every time they see a chocolate kiss, they have a memory of that pet's passing, and brings back all the really fond memories about where they are. And so this was a story that I thought, here's a vet who's doing probably one of the most horrible things in his profession, but he's making it a memory for all the people that are there, and for the pet parents. And so I asked her, I said, where did he start doing this, and how did it happen? And she said he recognized that when he lost a pet very early in life, that it really stuck with him, and he wanted to make it special for the pet, but also for the parents and his team. And she said, Mom, they have to turn away animals. They're referring to other vets. They just don't have enough space. So I wanted to share even those very critical, emotionally charged moments. We all know they're important. They're unavoidable. It's going to happen, but how you handle that, I think he really shined in coming up with a way that made it memorable, ongoing, and at least it's a bright spot, if you will, in the moment of great pain.
I tell you, as a pet parent, there is just nothing worse than having to put a pet down. And I've unfortunately been there too many times, including with my cat last summer, that just, destroyed me. And it is a moment where, when you can have that, you can show that empathy, you can do something for somebody, and you can make it memorable in a positive way. It's such a big deal. So kudos, great story. I would say for other people in other industries, you can always get to someone's heart through their pet. So if you notice that they have a pet, even if you're not in the pet industry, you can take advantage of that and certainly connect with them. Thank you so much, Diane, for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. Take care. All right. Next up for our storytelling spectacular on the 100th episode of The Experience Maker is a friend and former colleague of mine. We worked together at Humana. He is now the Vice President of Digital Experience at Texas Health Resources. My man, San Banerjee, the only other guy who can use my joke about not working for the man, but working for the San. How are you, sir?
I am doing well, Dan, and congratulations on this 100th episode. I love to be in this show, and always is a pleasure to talk to you anytime.
It is always a pleasure, sir. I'm looking forward to your story. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Go ahead and take it away.
Well, I'm going to share a story that I was recently involved in. And as you probably know, we are one of a large health system. So we take care of many patients, including pediatric kids. So this story is from one of our hospitals where we used to have a radiologist who used to take care of all the scans of kids. And he one day was talking to me and basically said, San, I don't like these kids to be so scared when they come to these scan machines and the rooms that we have. And keep in mind, this radiologist used to really serve only the pediatric kids. So he suggested that we change the whole room by putting Disney characters and things like that in the room. And it was an aha moment for me, because he came and talked to me. He had came and talked to many leaders in the enterprise, and I saw that there is an out of box thinking here, and I supported that thought. And guess what? We ended up changing that room with bright colors and a lot of Disney characters. It is probably only hospital in this metroplex here which has this kind of setting. Now the kids that come to that room is not scared anymore. There's a lot of fun in terms of taking the images that they're supposed to take as a part of their care. I think the point that I want to drive home is small thing matters when you think about experience. And this is one of those examples which I was kind of involved a little bit, and I wanted to share this with everybody on this show today.
I love it, San. Sometimes it's the simple things, right? It's about the environment around. They obviously can't change much about the process of getting the scan, but by changing the environment, it completely changes the experience. I think that's brilliant, and such a simple, inspirational story. So I appreciate it, man, and I appreciate you as well. Thank you for your friendship and your continued support.
Keep doing what you're doing, Dan. Great show.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.
All right. My next guest is a longtime friend. I get to serve on a board with him at the University of Pennsylvania on the Daily Pennsylvanian. I also get to work with his amazing company, Benco Dental, for a little while. Mr. Chuck Cohen, who apparently now goes, oops, sorry, that's Kate. Let's go to Chuck Cohen, who apparently now goes by Charles. This is new news to me, but he is the managing director of Benco Dental. How are you, sir?
I'm terrific. Thanks, Dan. And I will overlook the Kate thing. I'm sure Kate's a wonderful person. I don't know her, but I'm flattered to be in the same studio as she is. So welcome. Thank you.
Outstanding. All right, sir. Take it away. Let's hear your story.
First of all, thank you, Dan, for inviting me, and thanks and congratulations on your 100th episode. Proud to be a friend and a colleague and a supporter of what you're doing, which is great. So at Benco Dental, we have a couple things that we do particularly well. One of them is that we get out and co-travel, meaning that we get executives in the car with sales reps all the time to go visit customers. And the other one we do is before a customer or a dentist brings wants to build a brand new location, we bring them to one of our 3 Centerpoint locations and we show them all the equipment and we do a design and we really help them understand what's involved in their design build project. And as you can imagine, it's a big investment for a dentist to make. So this story, I really like this story because it combines 2. And I don't know that it's my favorite customer experience story, but it's the one that's the most recent. So it revolves around this picture. So if you can see this picture, I'll hold it up here for a second. I was out in North Carolina a week or so ago with one of our sales reps. He's the gentleman in this photo, and he took me to one of the offices where we had where the doctor had a Centerpoint experience several years ago. Turns out she did an award-winning design. It's won awards since, and this was the office that came out of that experience. So what was great about this photo was the photo in the back. So I want to call that out. The photo behind the sales rep and the doctor, by the way, is the one in the middle, was actually taken on her Centerpoint experience. So one of our 3 locations is in Costa Mesa, California, and it's right along the water. And one of the things that we do when doctors are out visiting our locations, we take them out for dinner, and usually it's a place that's along the water. She brought her camera along and she took photos of the ocean and the dolphins in the ocean. And she loved the photos so much that she decided to use the photos in her new office, her new award-winning office, to decorate the location. And it to me, it brought up a couple things. Number one is that she will never forget her Benco experience because she has it framed basically in locations all around her office. And the second one is it really shows that great design doesn't have to be very expensive. Great design just means you're creative and you're using your resources. So every time she walks in her office, she'll remember her customer experience at Benco. And I just love that.
I love it. And look, I had a quick page while you were telling your story there.
I'm so proud.
That's a great story. And I should, I mean, yes, this is a somewhat shameless plug, but I should point out that in my new book, The Experience Maker, the winner of Best Customer Experience Books and Customer Service Books of all time by Book Authority, there is a case study on Benco Dental that talks about your VIP experience. I think it is so impressive. It's such a great investment. You make this upfront investment. Yeah, there's some cost involved, but the amount of goodwill that you generate, and let's be honest, profit that you generate from having this experience is incredible. And I think so many companies can learn from it. So thank you, sir, for being here. I appreciate it.
Dan, great to see you, and congratulations again.
All right. Take care of yourself. Thank you, Chuck. My next guest is another rock star. I hate to keep using this term, but man, when I think of Kate Bradley Charnes, I definitely think rock star. She is the co-founder and CEO of Lately AI, a great friend of Dan and friend of the show. How you doing, Kately?
Hey, honey. Boy, I've missed you. It's so nice to see your face, and congratulations. This is pretty epic.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a while since you and I have chatted, and I'm super excited about your story. And I hope you don't mind, but while you're telling the story, I'm going to get back out of my Benco Dental. Sorry, Chuck. Had to wear it once, but go ahead, Kate, and take away. The stage is yours.
I love the fashion in here. So I've got two stories. One is company and one is personal. So the personal one I just love so much. I was getting an MRI recently, and you know how they play like terrible music, and inside the machine it's so loud and it's scary as the magnet or whatever it is going around your body. And the tech we were just talking about, I told her that I used to be a rock and roll DJ for the Loft at XM. And she was like, "Oh, you guys used to play Ben Folds. He's one of my favorite artists. Do you know who that is?" And I was like, "Yeah, because he has a song called Kate." And it's one of my favorite songs. And so she took the time to go and find a CD from her car and play me Kate as I was getting my MRI in that weird, scary place that those things are. So I thought that was so exceptional, that that little teeny detail from a total stranger. And one about the business that is different but still powerful. I always said in music that my favorite song is usually the song you don't like initially, but it becomes your favorite song more than songs that you initially love. There's something deeper about not liking something and then loving it more than anything. And this happened with our customer, David Allison. So he first came to Lately and just was like, "No way, I don't want anything writing for me. Nothing can be as good as me. Forget it. I've been burned, by whatever, even human experience before." And he met with Lauren, the great Lauren Turo, who so many of you know, and Dan knows Lauren. And she's so kind and charming. She won him over, and now he's our biggest fan. In fact, he released his first book on a Monday at noon, and it was #1 on Amazon's best-selling global list. And he gives Lately all the credit for picking out the best sound bites of the book so he could publish them as teasers out in social media. So I think the moral of the story is just find out what people are interested in, like that woman did with me with the music, something so obscure. It was just really amazing. She got so excited that I connected with her on something that a lot of people didn't know anything about. And the other thing with Lauren, with David Allison, was she took the time to win him over, as opposed to dismiss him as just a non-starter. And it goes to, and I'm just killing time here, Dan, because I don't know if you're changed yet. But
I'm good.
Is that all right? All right. Well, you're looking good. The last thing I wanted to say there is, customer service and customer experience can be so as easy as asking somebody how's the weather. That age-old, boring, wonderful question. It's the great equalizer, right?
Absolutely. It reminds me when I was at Discover Card, all of the customer service agents would answer the phone with their name and the city that they were in, and they were all in a U.S. city. And part of it was to communicate that they were based in the U.S. But what invariably happened was immediately customers forgot what they were calling about and instead asked about that city. How's the weather? Or, is it snowing in Chicago? Or my brother just visited there, or, whatever. And it created this connection point based on something as simple as, hey, it's Dan from Chicago. And boom, you've got that connection. So
it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, great example. I love the Kate song. I know that song by Ben Folds. Great song. And Kately from Lately, it is always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. Keep doing what you're doing because you are changing the world.
I love you. Thank you, my friend. You too.
All right. So my next guest, it's hard to even call this guy a guest because he is my partner in crime for shameless plug alert. He is the co-host, along with me, of the Experience This Show, the #1 customer experience podcast on planet Earth, which, by the way, has had far more than 100 episodes. We are north of 150. That is how much content we put together. So please check it out on your favorite podcast app. My man, Joey Coleman. How you doing? You look just like your picture.
I wanted to do the pose to match the picture from our show. Super excited to be here, Dan. Congratulations. 100 episodes. My goodness. I remember when you first started this up, and to have reached this milestone is absolutely incredible. And thanks so much for the invite to join you on the live stream today.
My pleasure. Couldn't imagine doing this without you. And man, I know a lot of your customer experience stories because you've told a lot of them, but I am excited to see which one you're going to pick. So take it away, sir.
Yeah, I thought a lot about this, Dan, and you're right. One of the things of being a fan of customer experience, being a customer experience speaker and writer, having a podcast with you, is that we get exposed to a lot of wonderful customer experience stories. And I know one of our philosophies in our friendship is we like to talk more about the positive stories than the negative stories, because frankly, there's enough discussion of negative in the world. We wanted to create a little more opportunity for positive. And so when I sat back and I thought about all of the interesting interactions that I've had or stories I've heard, I have to admit there was one that kind of rose to the top as far as a great example of how a little thing can have tremendous impact. As a speaker, I get the opportunity to travel around the world to give keynote speeches and lead workshops. And regularly, I'm fortunate enough that my wife and my 2 young boys will come with me. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to go up to Canada and give a speech to the Alberta Tourism Organization. Now, their event was being held at the Fairmont Hotel in Banff, Canada. Now, if you haven't had the opportunity to visit the Fairmont, any of their properties around the world, they are absolutely world class. And the Fairmont Banff is certainly, in some ways, the crown jewel of that brand. In fact, they actually refer to the hotel as the Castle in the Rockies, which is relevant for a piece of the story that's coming. So the entire family goes on this trip, and we're flying and we're working our way up and we're kind of navigating. And long story short, there's some flight delays. There's some things that don't work out well with the travel plans. And we pull into the hotel at about 1 a.m. Now, did I mention I'm traveling with my 2 sons, who at the time are 4 and 6? It is absolutely exhausting traveling. But when you add little kids into the mix, it kind of ups the ante. It's now 1 a.m. It's well past their bedtime. And we pull in and we get ready to check in. Now, as we're getting ready to go up and check in, I pull what I like to think is the signature veteran traveler move. And I say to my amazing wife, Barrett, why don't you wait over here with the kids and I'll go up and check in? Because as a general rule, the check-in process is mostly geared towards adults. Show me your ID, show me your credit card, let's go through the particulars, sign the contract, get everything paid, et cetera, et cetera. But what I didn't realize is that the Fairmont recognizes that many of their guests are traveling with children. So as I came up to the front of the counter and started to get checked in, mind you, this is 1 a.m., we're the only people in the lobby, the attendant recognizes that my wife and kids are kind of back, staying away from the desk. She's trying to keep them calm. We're going to be in the room in a few minutes. And the attendant says to me, would it be okay for your kids to come up and be part of the check-in process too? Now, if anybody's going to ask this, my gut response is sure, because I know they're not going to invite children to the counter unless there's something for the kids, something that's going to make it interesting and remarkable and unique for them. And the Fairmont Banff did not disappoint in that regard. The kids come forward and they say, welcome kids to the Fairmont. We're so excited that your mommy and daddy brought you here to stay with us. Let me ask a couple of questions. Do you have some favorite animals that you think might be around here in the woods at the hotel? And the kids start throwing out names of different animals that might be there. And as they're saying this, The gentleman pulls up an armful of stuffed animals. There's a fox, there's a badger, there's a mountain goat, there's a moose. There are all these animals that would be relevant in the woods around the space. And they're all branded with a little Fairmont logo, very tasteful. And he says to the kids, would you like one of these animals to stay with you while you're here? And then you can take it home too. Now, Dan, I know you've got kids. Your kids are a little older than my kids. But anytime you offer a young child a stuffed animal, you have just risen in their ranking as far as your qualities as a human being. So the kids are thrilled now. They've got this stuffed animal. And he says, and by the way, we would like to welcome you to the castle in the Rockies. We've got 2 young princes here. Let us give you some crowns. And he proceeds to give each of them a golden crown. Now, these are really molded, beautiful crowns. They're not just kind of flimsy paper crowns. And he gives both of these to the kids. Well, now my kids, who were completely exhausted from the travel, are absolutely thrilled to be at this hotel. My wife is breathing a sigh of relief. The kids are distracted. They're feeling good. I'm excited because we're just checking in and we're going to be there for 3 days. The moral of this story, the small things that you do to acknowledge the people who are important to your customers. See, my kids weren't the customer. I was the customer. But by acknowledging them and gifting them and creating an opportunity for a present for them, it made the experience that much better for me and for my wife.
I love it. What a great story. Totally right that the people around you, we actually had a story earlier about pets as well. You know, those are important to your customer, and kids and significant others are all important as well, even if they're not the direct customer. So I love it. Joey, you the man. I don't know where I'd be without you, and I appreciate your friendship and everything you do. Everybody, please check out Never Lose a Customer. Again, it is one of the absolute seminal pieces on customer experience. You have to check out this book. It is one of my faves, and you two also are one of my faves, man. So thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who joined in for the live stream today. Obviously, if you're following Dan, you're following an expert. He is a master at all things customer experience and customer service. I mean, I guess that's why they call him the experience maker, right?
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And I'll see you soon. We got more episodes to record.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right. Okay, awesome. Well, you know, I'm really excited about my next guest because those of you that know me know that I spent 20 years in corporate America as a marketer, and I truly believe that customer experience is your best marketing. So it is fascinating to me that of the 20 guests today, this is the only chief marketing officer that we have on, but that makes me really excited to hear her story. The chief marketing officer of LivePerson, Amber Armstrong. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Dan. Joey is really hard to follow. That guy's got a lot of energy.
Well, you know, like me, he gets paid to talk, and there's some irony in that because we're both really good talkers. So don't worry about it. Your story will absolutely stand on its own. I'm super excited to have you here, and I'm going to hand the stage to you for your 5 minutes. Take it away.
Yeah, well, I decided to talk about one of our customers that is just did a really, really exceptional job. And it's David's Bridal. And this actually goes back to COVID. And David's Bridal had, you know, obviously we had lots of changes happening with COVID from an overall retail perspective. And they started noticing things were changing. And they really understood this data is coming in from clients that's different than what they've seen before. And it's not just cancellation of orders, right? It's what you would think. You think, oh, there must be a bunch of cancellations and it's gonna have some impact on us. But instead, what they actually found was this amazing nugget that women were specifically asking for shorter dresses. And suddenly they're like, wait, like we don't actually have a lot of these shorter dresses. So they were able to connect that in with their other systems, supply chain, et cetera, and to be able to say, okay, we need to order more of these shorter dresses because these people have this serious need. They want to still get married. We all need it, obviously, during that time. A lot of positivity and something to look forward to. And so they wanted to give these customers that opportunity. And so they were actually able to drive this great outcome because they were able to make shifts in the supply chain, deliver those dresses, increases the inventory of those types of dresses, and deliver those to people in a point where, as I said, we all were hoping for something really, really great. And then I'll do my own little shameless plug for a second here. We launched Curiously Human as our new brand idea yesterday, and it's all built around this idea of experiences and this idea that you can understand, connect, and deliver outcomes to brands, but you also deliver that to the consumers. I think one of the areas where we get lost on experience is sometimes we look at it of what's the experience from the brand's perspective and the outcomes they're trying to drive, but what does it really mean to the consumer when they actually get it? And the thing I'm excited about with Curiously Human is it speaks to both what the brand tries to drive and also what the consumer is experiencing.
Awesome. I love it. I'm a big fan of LivePerson. I think you know this because I think we talked about this before, but I'm a previous client when I was at Discover, and we were actually an early adopter of some of your, at the time, newest technology. And I love what you guys are doing. I think it is great. And you might not know this. I don't know. Maybe you do. But, my family's business back in the 80s was tuxedos. And so David's Bridal hit home for sure. That was kind of the other half of the equation. We dressed the men and David's Bridals took care of the women. And so it was a great story and really interesting, just sort of the trends that are changing because of the pandemic. And being aware of that and frankly being willing to take action on it.
And really quickly, right? Like it's this, consumers have an expectation that they're going to get what they want, as immediately as possible. And so I think that ability of brands to be able to react really quickly is the thing that really sets really great experiences apart from the norm.
Absolutely. Expectations have never been higher. And I'm afraid to tell you folks, they're not coming down anytime soon. So we got to be there and we got to be there quickly. Thank you so much, Amber. Really appreciate you being here. And congrats on being the only chief marketing officer in the group today. That's a big accomplishment in of itself. And I'm always glad to talk to my my marketing brethren.
Love it. Thank you so much, Dan. Great to see you.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, next up in the spotlight for what I can tell you ahead of time, having no idea what he's going to talk about, is going to be a great story. He is not only the Senior Director of Customer Experience at Arise Virtual Solutions, but he is unquestionably the best dressed man in customer experience, Mr. Nate Brown. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Dan. How's it going? Hello, everybody out there. Welcome.
So glad to have you. I know from knowing you from so long that this is about to be an experience. So I'm just going to hand it to you, let you do your handiwork, and thanks for being here.
Deal. Well, thank you so much, Dan. I tried to wear my best Joey Coleman jacket. So hello, Joey, and hello to everybody. Dan, you're just killing it. Congratulations on 100 episodes. You've been such a role model for me and for so many. I mean, when we talk about the folks that are out there doing it right, doing it authentically, you are the name that comes up. So you've just been such a mentor to me and to so many. Thank you for what you do in the customer experience space. We owe you a great deal, and it is a pleasure to be here to celebrate this episode. So we have a story. I have called this story A Tale of Two Customer Service Workers. And then with any good story, you have to have a penny whistle intro. So the story starts off kind of sad. Don't worry, there's a better ending here. But it was one of these nightmare scenarios. I don't know about you, but I'm always a little afraid when you come off an airplane and you turn your cell phone back on off of airplane mode. And sure enough, I was flying from Nashville to Los Angeles, about to board an international flight to Japan. I don't do a lot of international travel, so my stomach's already up in knots and I'm already feeling just off about the day. Well, I have a whole string of texts from my wife. And in the time I was in the air, my brother-in-law had passed away. It was just this awful thing, totally unexpected. It was a tragic thing. And still, I mean, this was years ago. Still, I mean, it's just a very crazy and awful scenario. So as you can imagine, in that moment, my mind just left my body. And I had to somehow get from Los Angeles. I mean, forget Japan. Forget it. I just need now to get to Wisconsin to be there for the family. And so I go to the gate of this airline that I'm flying with, just absolutely desperate for help. I just need help. I can't think. I just need help to get myself to Wisconsin. And the gate agent or the individual helping there had no interest in doing that at all. Had to wait for a long time to get to this individual, and she heard my scenario and looked me in the eyes and said, "You need to go out and book a flight on your cell phone." And that was the extent of the conversation. Just deadpan, emotionless. Just go figure it out. And I just remember my legs almost fell, just with the emotion of, I need you, I need help. And you right now apparently can't or won't, I don't know, but you're the person here to help me. And for some reason, you're not going to do that. And so I went out and I'm looking at my phone and I can't figure it out. I physically can't. I can't think well enough to figure out how to do this complicated travel arrangement. And so I just called the airline, the customer service desk, and the agent that I got, she was phenomenal. And she got my butt to Wisconsin. I don't even know how she did it, but she did everything in that moment and just put me at ease, said what I needed to hear, just to focus on the right things, and just took care of everything. So it's just amazing to me to compare the mentality of these two different people that are in the same roles. They have the same policies and procedures. They work for the same company, and they are completely opposite in the experience that they're delivering and the magic that they're creating for the people that they serve. So what a wake-up call for me as a customer service professional. It's I have this power. I can truly serve and help people. I can make great things happen in this customer service role if I'm willing, if I can bring that mentality to it every day. And so it's a red flag for those who at some point maybe lost that and you just don't have that anymore. You got to make a change. You've got to find a way to restore that again because people are depending on you.
Absolutely, Nate. And I'm glad that you were able to resolve that and get to Wisconsin. And, I got to be honest, I've never really had that fear of turning on my phone after the flight, but now I'm going to. So thanks for that. But yeah, you're totally right. And I think it's so interesting across companies how the training is inconsistent, that sometimes one channel, it's almost like one channel gets one set of training and empowered in a certain way, and a different channel gets a different set of training and different empowerment. And that's just not right for the customer. We should be able to go pretty much to any employee and get the same kind of treatment. So I also want to put in a shameless plug for you. Not only is Nate Brown such a great follow across social media in terms of customer experience, customer service content, but he is also heading up this amazing initiative called CX Accelerator that is literally collecting the best of the best in customer experience across the world. These are practitioners, thought leaders, experts of all kinds into a community. It is the most vibrant CX community that's out there. It's free. Go to cxaccelerator.com, and I am sure that Nate will open up the doors for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Congrats, Dan.
Thank you for being here. All right, if you guys will excuse me for 1 second, I need to do one more wardrobe change. Hold on a sec. My next guest is the Chief Amazement Officer of Shepherd Presentations, and also the author of the new book, I'll Be Back. Ladies and gentlemen, the Godfather of customer service, my friend, my brother from another mother, Mr. Shep Hyken. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm feeling great, and I had to put on my glasses just for you. I'll be back.
Your glasses are far cooler than my glasses. I could do a giveaway at some event, but at least I had them to put on. So thank you for being here, man. It means so much.
And congratulations. I've known you since you were a little boy in this business.
You have. That's true.
Metaphorically speaking. I mean, I knew you from the very beginning, from the infancy of the Dan Gingiss, going to become the thought leader in the customer experience space. I knew you when.
And I couldn't have done it without you. You've been such a great friend and mentor, and
thank you.
I appreciate everything you do, including answering my late night texts of, what should I do with this or how should I handle this? And you've been awesome. I also know you are one of the very best storytellers out there, and so you probably have a great story for us today, and I can't wait to hear it. So I'm going to give you the stage.
I'm excited to share the story. It's not, I mean, it's not a keynote signature story, but it's something that I wrote about recently, and I think it will appeal specifically to you, Dan, because you write about something very similar. BarkBox is a company that caters to monthly packages that are mailed to the owners of dogs, filled with all kinds of cool dog treats and toys. And I know, Dan, you have a similar story with Chewy.com, but your story is about how when Chewy finds out that a pet has passed away, they have this wonderful email that they send. And it's probably the same email to everybody with just a minor tweak to personalize it. And I thought, well, that's a wonderful idea. That's personalization at scale. And I experienced something very similar, or actually read about the experience, and I thought it's worth sharing. Recently, there was some really, really bad weather in the Midwest. There were floods, tornadoes, et cetera, et cetera. And BarkBox reached out to all of the customers in the areas that were hit with this devastating weather and offered to do something for their pets. And I thought to myself, well, that's brilliant. How did they know? Well, it's easy. They just took a look at the zip codes of all the places that have been hit and sent this email out that showed, hey, we care about you. Once again, a great example of personalization at scale. And everybody thinks that personalization should be just one-on-one. And I call that micro personalization. But you can get macro and make people feel like you really know them and understand them by hitting them with something that's important, even if it's the same to 10,000 other customers. The customer that receives this message from the company is going to feel like, hey, they're reaching out directly to me. And in our research, personalization is one of the top reasons that customers keep saying, I'll be back.
Outstanding. And I agree with you. You know, personalization is not just dear first name in an email. That's like the most basic level of lazy personalization. It's really about knowing your customer and knowing your customers. And that's why personalization can be scalable, because in your example, a lot of customers might be going through the same thing, but it's that understanding that feels personalized much more than just being able to throw somebody's name in there.
Yeah. And it made me think and realize how easy it would be for me to take a look at my client base by zip code. And when we hear about some tragic incident, weather-wise or whatever, just simply doing an email. And by the way, you know, I might have 100 clients in that area. Well, take a little bit of time, a minute or two with each one. So for a couple, 3 hours of work, you can make somebody feel like you're really connecting with them.
Love it. Nothing better than that. Thank you, sir.
Hey,
Mr.
thank you. And
Godfather,
thank you
sir.
for what you're doing to elevate our industry.
Awesome. Well, thank you for everything you do. Keep it up. And I will be back talking to you again soon.
Can't wait. Take care, buddy.
All right. Take care. Okay. My next guest is another very special person in my life. I've been so honored and privileged to get to know her much better in the last few months. Can't say a whole lot right now, but let's just say we're working on a project together that I am super excited about. Shawna Hughes is the Global Product Growth and Innovation Evangelist at Momentive AI. She is known on all the socials as the Sassy Sista, and that's SaaS, as in SaaS platforms. Shawna, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Dan. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you holding the space for us.
Oh, I couldn't do this without you, and I'm super excited that you are here. We only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to hand the stage to you to go ahead and tell your customer experience story. Take it away, Shawna.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to focus on the story of Starbucks, right? So Starbucks is a brand that everyone knows. They know their logo, they know their color scheme. Everyone knows Starbucks. And Starbucks has long strived to be the third place, or the place after you recognize where your home is and where your work is. So there was a story regarding Starbucks and one of their employees. A barista noticed that one of their regular customers, who identified as a deaf individual, was having trouble ordering and navigating, their customer journey within Starbucks. This barista actually took it upon themselves and learned a bit of ASL, or American Sign Language, and was able to, really help that customer with that customer journey. And that's just an amazing story, right? We hear these stories and they pull at our heartstrings, and we're like, wow, that's an amazing brand. That's someone we want to do business with. Then fast forward to a few years later when Starbucks was in the news due to an incident about a racial bias that happened in one of their locations. So Starbucks as an organization didn't decide to hide from this incident, right? It was on the news, it was being reported everywhere. They didn't decide to hide from it. They knew what their brand values were, and they decided to live those brand values. And one of those values was the company's founding value is based on humanity and inclusion. So what they decided to do on May 29th, excuse me, of 2018 is hold an organization-wide. Any stores or brand that was associated with Starbucks would get racial bias training from some of the top leading experts in the industry. And the reason why I wanted to bring up this story is because, again, they didn't hide from the fact that their brand made a mistake. I mean, well, not their brand, sorry, an employee of the brand made a mistake, but they knew it reflected upon their brand. So what they did was allow themselves to say, hey, we made a mistake. We're going to fix it. And we're not just going to speak with that employee. We're going to make sure all of our employees are trained in the proper way. So as Shep was just talking about, macro and micro presentations and personalization, they decided to think globally but act locally, which was an amazing experience, I'm sure, for everyone, and really had an impact on me.
Yeah, it's such a great story. Thank you for sharing it. I'm a huge fan of Starbucks as well. I think it is such a great example of so many things around customer experience, knowing your customer in particular. I highly recommend Howard Schultz's books and just sort of getting into his thought process about that third place. He tells a great story about a woman coming in the early days, having gone to the gym and ordering a coffee with skim milk. And at the time, they didn't have skim milk because they were trying to be like the Italian cafes. And apparently they frown upon skim milk. And he watched this woman leave without getting a coffee. And the next day, executive order, we're now serving skim milk in all of our stores because that's what our customers want. And
Exactly.
You mentioned the deaf example. They have a Starbucks right near Gallaudet University that where every one of their employees can communicate in American Sign Language. They're so good at understanding the different communities that they serve and really trying to understand them and cater to them.
Right.
So thank you. That's an awesome story.
Thank you so much, Dan. And I just want to give a plug out for really identifying those moments of truth, because this for Starbucks was one of those moments of truth. And if you don't know what the MOTs are, just Google it. It'll pop up, but it's along that customer journey. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Shawna. I love everything you're doing. Keep it up.
Thanks.
All right, we'll talk soon. That was Shawna Hughes. And now I am very excited to keep the party going. We're actually reasonably on time here. I was really worried about becoming super late, and we've been doing a great job. We're only a couple minutes over. So I'm very excited to bring in the founder and CEO of L. Brown CX Consulting. She is my friend, Lori Brown. How are you, ma'am?
Hey, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm really excited to have you here now. When I had you on the show, I think you were still working at the results companies and focused on customer service, and now you're doing your own thing, which of course I wholeheartedly endorse because I went that same route. So glad to have you here, and I'm looking forward to your story.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I was thinking about when we spoke last, and it was the very beginning of COVID, and we thought, be a couple weeks and we'll be out and about, and here we are 2 years later. And, it's funny because when you asked, kind of come up with a story of your customer experience that stood out in your head, I had to really think, because I've been kind of on lockdown like everybody else over the last few years. And I'm like, well, have I really been anywhere where I could have a really great customer experience? And I have to tell you that while I have been venturing out, we're here in South Florida, so you know, it's the Wild West down here right now. The weather is beautiful and everybody's here. But my experience has actually been a digital experience. I recently had my floors redone. And if any of you out there had your floors redone or something in your house, all of a sudden you look around and you're like, well, wait a minute, now I've got to change everything else. And so when I did go out to a furniture store, a top brand, and after they explained to me that prices have gone up, that logistics is a problem, shipping wouldn't be 3 to 6 months, I kind of came home a little defeated and said, you know, maybe I need to take a different approach here. I have a couple chairs, some sofas and things like that. So I actually got online and went to where everyone goes and tried to look online to buy things, couldn't find anything. And then I thought about what was a past experience that I had had. And I had had a great experience with Wayfair. Quick, it was about two and a half years ago. I bought a ceiling fan. I had to reach out to their representative. You know, he was great. Everything came. I said, let me go on. Dan, about 4 hours later, I was 2 slip covers, a sofa cover, and 2 bar stools in to Wayfair. They had a great selection. I was able to read all the reviews. I mean, I'm sure I'm like other shoppers where everything went in my cart. So I had 30 different slip covers. I had probably 25 different sets of bar stools in there that I could go and look at, compare, look around. And it was a great shopping experience, all from my home on a Saturday evening with a bottle of wine. I mean, how do you get better than that? And then to top it all off is, you know, then I started getting updates on your shipment, you know, will arrive on Tuesday. And if you need anything, here's where you can reach us. And, oh, by the way, the driver is, you know, 12 hours out, and just the notifications that came in. They did such a great job in providing a great customer experience. And, you know, now I'm getting the, how do you like your product? And, oh, by the way, we know you looked at pillows to match this. Again, that pre and post purchase is so important. And, you know, what really, again, stood out to me was the ease, the communication. Shep talked about personalization. Being able to have that communication right into my phone really meant a lot to me. And what better than, you know, to have a great customer experience is, but to tell all your friends about it. And that's what I've done. As my friends are coming in to see all of my updates to my home, I'm letting them know exactly where I got everything from.
You know, it's interesting because on one hand, when I hear your story, I think, well, yeah, of course, that's what online shopping should be. That's the standard that Amazon set. And then I started thinking, but I don't get that experience with everybody that I shop at. And, you know, my kids got me a gift over the holidays, or maybe it was for my birthday. And unfortunately, it didn't function properly. And I'm still trying to even get the attention of the company that sold it to them and get them to respond to me, right? And so they spent this money on this gift and it doesn't work. And it seems like, you know, we're gonna have to chalk it up as a loss. And, you know, there's so many companies out there that are doing it well. Those are the companies that deserve our business. So awesome job. And it certainly looks like you have a very nicely appointed place behind you from what you can tell. So,
well, you know my picture.
we'll credit Wayfair. So thank you, Laura. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, it was great to see you, Dan. Good luck and congrats on your 100th episode. Well done.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Take care.
That was Lori Brown, and we're going to keep moving because we are doing such a great job of staying on track here. Very excited to introduce you to the chief evangelist of BombBomb. This man can record a video pretty much anywhere and get somebody's attention, and BombBomb is certainly the platform to do that. Mr. Ethan Butte, how are you today, sir?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much. Congratulations on 100 episodes. This is such a fun idea. And you're just killing it, just moving through. Like I've only been able to see about a half hour of it, but I've learned so much and met some awesome people. I just love what you're building. And you've brought all these people together in honor of the mission of the show.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I feel very honored and lucky to know such amazing people and that have given up their time to be on the show once, let alone come back and tell a story. But man, I love storytelling and I love hearing other people's stories. So Ethan, it's your time to tell a story. I'm going to hand the stage to you.
Okay, it's not so much a story, and I'll try to keep it tight because I want your thoughts or feedback or maybe a story you have on it. It's something I've been thinking about a lot. So I'm going to go back maybe 3 or 4 years. People say you don't need air conditioning in Colorado. And that may have been true like back in the day, but I'd say between rising temperatures and the periodic wildfires that damage air quality, like you don't want to keep your windows open. So my wife and I were shopping for air conditioning. And so I had 3 people to come into our home to kind of bid it out. And they were all represented like mainstream brands like a Manna or Bryant or Carrier or Lennox or whatever. Like I don't even know what brand we have, honestly, which is kind of tied to the idea behind the story. So we had 3 people come in. One of them, the least expensive, just absolutely creeped my wife out. You know, like that eye contact that you make with a close friend or someone like your spouse, where you're communicating without saying anything. Like I knew that this one was over really before it even started. Second person was kind of middle of the road. That this person was fine. And if anyone's read I'll Be Back from Shep, you know that fine is a 4-letter word that starts with an F. But it was fine. It was fine. And then the third one turned out to be the most expensive bid, kind of by a stretch. But we ended up going with that person because of the way he made us feel in our own kitchen. And so what I've been thinking about a lot and talking about a lot, I don't have it like fully formulated yet, but of course, by interviewing, you've been on the Customer Experience podcast, which I've had the privilege to host for 3 years now. You've been on it twice. And so, you know, and many of your guests today have as well, that I ask everyone to define customer experience. And what I'm looking for there is just kind of where the answers overlap and where they diverge in different ways. Different people from different backgrounds are thinking about it. But kind of at the center of all of them is customer experience is how we make people feel, right? And what I'm working on and thinking about right now, and what that example is meant to suggest, is that the human-to-human moments, right, or the moments that matter, that involve human-to-human interaction, play an outsized role in leaving that emotional resonance that drives the way we feel, that which drives our thoughts, then which drives our actions, which stories we tell, who we write reviews for, who we agree to. So when you think about these 3 salespeople, essentially, that were in our home pitching us on what turned out to be a new furnace and air conditioning, they weren't the installers. They weren't the people that come to our home semi-annually and check these things out. We put price and features and benefits aside, and at some level, they were approximately commodity. I mean, there's a great deal of product parity. And so your salespeople and the people that are the earliest to connect and communicate with customers and potential customers play an outsized role in what the anticipated experience is going to be, brand perceptions, all that, like a dramatically oversized role relative to the role if we sketch out a customer life cycle or a customer experience. You know, it's this moment, but its effect on the rest of it is outsized. And I would say the same for anyone that's doing recruiting for you, whether that's internal or external. The people that are recruiting the next best people to your organization also play an outsized role in who comes, who doesn't come, the expectations that are set up, et cetera. And so I would just ask you, Dan, human-to-human moments, outsized role. A, do you buy it? B, can you think of a scenario where you made a decision based so much more on the person than on all the other stuff?
Totally buy it, Ethan. And I think that's what makes salespeople so good at what they do is they get their target to like them. And we all buy from people that we like. I tell a story in my book about purchasing windows for my home, also a very large investment. We went for the second most expensive of 7 providers that we interviewed.
Wow.
But it was entirely because we liked the salesperson. Now, interestingly, that story didn't end well because after we had some problems with the installation, the salesperson vanished and we couldn't find him anymore. But it does go to show how important it is to establish that human relationship because we want to purchase from people that we really like.
Yeah, it also establishes that EX-CX connection. I think the people that are going to come out and represent you well and cast a positive light on the rest of the organization are ones that are super engaged. And so I had someone recently tell me in the most succinct way that I've heard it before, your customer experience will never be better than your employee experience.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I would also be remiss if I did not tell people to go out and get Human-Centered Communication, a business case against digital pollution by my friend Ethan Butte and your colleague Stephen Passanelli.
Correct.
Passanelli, awesome. Great book. We featured it on the Experience This show, and also definitely check out the Customer Experience podcast, one of my favorites, and I've been honored to be on it twice, as you mentioned before. So thank you, Ethan, for all that you're doing in the space. Thanks for your friendship, and I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Always good to see you, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Take care. All right, my next guest. Boy, I could go on for a while about my next guest, but actually, I'm going to start with a quick story about how we met. We were at a conference together, and we were sitting next to each other. We didn't know each other, and we were watching a panel of so-called experts in a session that was titled How to Market to Millennials. Now, I observed something about this panel, and so I leaned over to my soon-to-be new great friend, Chris Strub, who I could tell was a millennial. And I said, is it strange to you that nobody in this panel actually is a millennial? And he laughed, and he's like, yes, this is very strange. And of course, it kind of reduced some of the credibility of that particular panel. And so we kind of had a laugh about it, and we enjoyed the panel. And then we have been friends ever since for now going on, I don't know, Chris, it's probably 7-8 years. I also want to point out that Chris is the author of 3 books, the most recent of which is 15 Seconds of Fame, how you can use Instagram stories to build your brand, grow your community, and drive real results. Now, having done that fantastic introduction, unfortunately, I have noticed that Chris has dropped off of the screen. And so I'm not entirely sure what happened to Chris, but hopefully he will be back very shortly. So I'm going to move on to our next guest and come back to Chris. Our next guest is a dear friend of mine, a business coach, the Zoom queen, which is kind of really all the introduction that she needs. But she is a keynote speaker and just an all-around terrific person, Marquesa Petway. Hi, Marquesa.
Well, hello, Dan. I am so pumped to be here.
I am so
I
pumped
really
for you
am.
to be here because you cheer me up every time I talk to you. As people who have seen my keynote know, or my book, you're in my speech because you do such a great job creating experience. So glad you're here, and I can't wait to hear your story. So I'm going to give you the stage. You take it away.
Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate it. All right, now I'd rather keep off the glasses, but I want to make sure I stay on time. He said 5 minutes. All right, first of all, can I just say thank you, because I've been watching all of the guests, to all of the experts out there in the customer service space, because whatever you're doing, it's working. And in addition, Dan, congratulations on your 100th episode, because it's changing the world. So I appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me to this. Okay, now, Dan, reached out and said, Marquesa, share one of your a great customer service experience you've had. And I thought, well, this one, but I remember, but this one, I was exhausted by the time I finished, right? Maybe it's a little ADHD. I don't know. I could not decide. And then I finally said to myself, wait a minute. I know who changed really my life as a speakerpreneur, as Zoom queen, when it comes to my perspective of customer service and how it doesn't have to be overwhelming. So I'm going to share a little story about this person. You may know who he is, okay? But before I get there, I need to say this. Providing the most fabulous customer service experience can be overwhelming, right? For small businesses, speakerpreneurs, experts. How do I know this? I've been in business 16 years, right? And so I think about, well, when my clients fly to New York or they, see me speak, how can I remove the stress, get them in the moment? How can I shock them in order to calm them? How can I be different? How can I send a card or a calendar or email or a special call or personalized binders? Dan remembers that. Or just, since I live in New York City, and oftentimes my clients will fly here for either retreats or one-on-one. What can I do? Well, then I met Dan, the experience maker, guys. I met Dan, and the first thing that I learned from him was it doesn't have to be so complicated. It can be something so simple, right? And I tend to not want to be like everybody else. So he quickly just built up my confidence with keep it simple, don't overthink it. And y'all, Dan does not only share the customer service experience, and he didn't know I was going to do this, but he lives it. So let me just prove this. One day, minding my own business, right? Somebody rang the bell and went down, and I got this. This is a big deal. It's kind of cool to get packages, right? I got this beautiful thing in the mail. Now, I got it all open right now. Got this beautiful product in the mail. I'm watching the clock. Anyway, as a person that's been in the industry for a long period of time, expert speakers, that kind of thing, I get books all the time. I get packages often. This one blew me away, not just because of the brand and how good it looks and all that good stuff. He made me part of the experience, right? The book lit up in the front, right? I'm an idea. I'm a creative. He gave me something around, okay, how can you use your creative ideas in the customer service space? It was so personalized. I literally thought, Dan, did you just create this for me? So I had to say something. Then he puts a personal card in here, right? And it happens to be right next to, and I'm not just showing you this because I'm in it, right next to what he said I did that I thought was a little not super professional. He said, oh no, that's great because it's your personality. And that needs to be part of the customer service experience. He lives it, he eats it, he sleeps it. So I appreciate you so much, Dan. All right, here's another thing that I want to I got to love on you. And I got one more thing, but I got to love on you. What do you got to say so far?
You put such a big smile on my face, and so you keep going. I'm take the stage for as long as you want, Marquesa.
Serious. And Dan will tell you I did like a 30-minute video on it, so it's crazy. All of a sudden I'm hearing noise. Okay, it stopped. Here's one more thing. Dan did mention that I'm Zoom queen, and that happened pre-pandemic. And I must say this: as a speaker, we all have these bullet. What do they call it? Dream list, bucket list. That's what it's called. We all have a bucket list of where we want to speak. Well, Microsoft contacted me and said, hey, we want you to do a breakout session here at our headquarters. And I thought, that's nice, but I really want to do a keynote. I'm thinking this to me. And I said, okay, how can I create a relationship with them and so that they'll ask me instead of me volunteering, right? So one of the things, and this is a tip to you guys, to everyone out there, because right now, the majority of our conversations are virtual. Is that correct? Our events, our meetings, you can make it truly customer service oriented. Again, learning this from Dan and learning the mission of that from Dan. Anyway, when Microsoft, a couple of their executives, the people that plan their meetings showed up to my Zoom. First of all, they were like, what is Zoom? I don't know, because this was way before the pandemic. So I had to quickly give them some instructions. When they came in, they didn't come directly into my Zoom room. They were in my Zoom waiting room. There was a video in my Zoom waiting room that said, hey, how you doing? Well, it was a little bit more precise. I'm so glad you're here. Give me one second. I'm gonna bring you in, right? So anyway, I brought them in and they were like, whoa, what was that? And then I said, don't worry about recording and taking notes. I'm transcribing everything. Here is my point to you. I don't care if it's in person or virtual. You can still give this amazing customer service experience. And the result was they did ask me to be one of their keynotes and do 4 breakouts. Yay, Microsoft. So thank you again, Dan, for just, inspiring me and making me feel like you don't have to overthink it, girl.
Marquesa, as I said, you have the ability to put a smile on my face that just stays there. And I so appreciate you. You did a great job when I came to New York for your VIP weekend of making it personalized. I remember the gift box that you gave, and everybody had a different one. It wasn't like you just did, 8 of them, all the same. Everybody had different items in it. So you really have that attention to detail. And I forgot to say in the introduction, I think this is really important. As a result of that weekend, something that I had been really struggling with for a long time, Marquesa and I figured out on that weekend. And that was, what in the heck am I going to call my company? And what's going to be my brand? And I remember sitting there on the couch with you. We were looking up URLs. We were looking up social media handles and all this sort of stuff. And then you and I stumbled on the Experience Maker. And we looked at each other and we were like, that is it. We did it. This is it. And so, the brand, the company, the name of the show, the name of the book, I owe that to you and that brainstorming session. You and I got that together and it was amazing. I think it was like our 37th try, but when we got it, we were like, yes, that's it. So
That's
thank
why
you
you
for
were
that.
there 3 days. Absolutely. Thank you. And clearly, he ran with it, and you're killing it because you truly are an experience maker.
Thank you,
so much,
Marquesa.
Dan, for being
I
a
appreciate
friend
you.
and a
All right, you
resource.
take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye now. All right, we have Chris Strubb back, and since he was gone, I now can show you all 3 of his books. I've got the trifecta. We've got 50 States, 100 Days, the book. We've got Fight for Good Tour, the book, and we've got his newest, 15 Seconds of Fame, How You Can Use Instagram Stories to Build Your Brand, Grow Your Community, and Drive Real Results. My buddy, and Chris, I told him the story of how we met. Chris Strubb, how you doing?
Dan, I'm doing awesome. I apologize about the technical issues a moment ago. It's funny, I was texting you. It's also fire alarm test day here in my apartment building. So Joey Coleman, I'm sure you told a great story. It was piercingly loud in my ears for several minutes, but I think we should be clear. Again, congratulations. I'm also really glad I got a chance to see Marquesa there. You've been talking about her for a year now, and I'd never actually seen her in person. So kind of fitting that I got a chance to follow her. Dan, I've got a story that I think is going to tie together a number of the elements that have been coming up throughout the show. We've talked a lot about turning negative experiences into a positive. We've talked a lot about personalization, and I'm going to talk to you for a couple minutes about the best candy ever made, Reese's peanut butter cups. So Reese's, of course, for generations has made the perfect candy. These little Reese's peanut butter cups, we're all familiar with them. They're perfect in every way. And in October of 2018, so about 25 years ago, they announced that they were going to introduce a new line of Reese's peanut butter cups that were 40% smaller. They're going to call them Reese's Thins. And of course, they released this on their social media channels. They tweeted it out. And the response was, okay. I mean, why mess with something perfect? Right? I mean, everybody loves Reese's. They can't really do anything wrong, but certainly they had their fair share of negative replies. And one of those negative replies came from our buddy, Mike Metzler, who, by the way, quick plug, Dan, is in our fantasy football league that I won and you did not. Dan, if you want to just check out my name there. Mike's name also not on the trophy, but I digress. So Mike Metzler tweeted at Reese's. He tweeted, yells into clouds, 2019 was supposed to be better. Oh, if only we knew how much better 2019 actually was anyway. But Reese's caught wind of Mike's tweet. And again, Mike is in this social media pros fantasy football league with us. He works as an analyst with Conviva. He's been a Snapchat influencer for years, working with the UFC and all these different brands. You might think that Reese's would take the time to DM Mike and be like, oh, Mike, hey, we want to prove you wrong. Send us your address. We're going to send you some of our new product, right? That's what that's where you think this story is going to go. But no, in fact, what Reese's chose to do, Dan, was not just to look on social media, not just to go on Facebook or Instagram and search for Mike Metzler. They literally went to the phone book and they found everyone in America with the name, same spelling, Mike Metzler. And they sent free new Reese's peanut butter cup thins to every Mike Metzler they could find in the phone book, except for the Mike Metzler who had tweeted about them. And the letter that they sent with the product went like this: Dear Mike Metzler, on October 26, 2018, a Mike Metzler that isn't you tweeted his dislike for our new delicious Reese's Thins. And they posted the tweet. He hadn't even tried them yet. To prank Mike for not knowing a good thing when he sees it, we're sending you our new Reese's Thins to every Mike Metzler in the phone book except him. Now, because you're amongst the first in the world to try them, because we know you'll have better taste than that other Mike Metzler, try them out today. We know you'll love them. And if you feel like tweeting at Metzler, they even included a tweet that you could send to him from one Mike to another. You don't know what you're missing out on. And of course, this went pretty viral. There's a Facebook post from another Mike Metzler. Oh yeah, I want a bag of Reese's new thin cups because some dude whose name is also Mike Metzler bleep talked Reese's on Twitter. Reese's, you mad delicious lads. So Dan, I thought this was such a clever story. It was such a beautiful way to create an experience, not just for our friend Mike, but for all these other Mike Metzlers and all of their networks. It's the perfect social listening story. And of course it pays off at the end. They did end up sending Mike 300 cases of Reese's Thins as sort of a thank you to the joke. But yeah.
That's a lot of Reese's Thins. That's an awesome story. I haven't heard that story before. So, and obviously you and I talk a lot, so I've heard a lot of your stories, but that's a great one and a perfect one to share. I agree with you. I think Reese's Peanut Butter Cups could be the perfect candy. So I'm with you there. Thank you, sir. Thanks for all that you do. Keep doing what you're doing. Everything I've learned about hosting a live show came from you, including the equipment, the technology, the lighting, all of it all came from you. And I appreciate you, man.
Camera looks great, Dan. And again, congratulations on 100. We'll talk soon. Go Cubbies.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Okay, we are going to finish up with our last guest story, although I do want you to stick around for my story because I'm going to be our last speaker today. But our last guest story comes from a man who is responsible for that. You know, somebody said it earlier on in the show, H to H, human to human. Yeah, that all started right here. There's no B to B or B to C. There is just human to human, or H to H, by Brian Kramer, who heads up H to H Companies. He's the founder. He is also an executive coach, and he's also just a really good-looking guy, especially since he got that new haircut. How you doing, BK?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. How are you, Dan? You must be pretty tired after all these interviews.
You know what? I am so energized. I don't need any more caffeine today. I have gotten just all the inspiration and excitement that I need. So the tiredness hasn't come in yet because, man, this storytelling thing is really fun. And all of my friends and guests on the show have delivered. So, you know, no pressure at all to finish this up here. But I have a feeling you've got a really good story to tell. So I'm going to hand you the stage, my friend.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I am so honored, and congrats, Dan, on your 100th episode. This is fantastic, and thank you for including me in being a part of the community of the experience makers. I want to tell a story about one of my favorite ways that a brand made community feel included, and how you can do this at almost any size. But when you start to think about and Dan said it, earlier about how I wrote a book about human to human, and how at such a large size, you would never think about how a brand like Ben & Jerry's could make individuals feel so included. And this is one of my favorite stories. It was, it was just a few years ago that they actually took time to think through how can they include people and make them feel unique and special. And here's what they did. Now, just let me take a second. They were born actually as a course in making ice cream. I don't know if you knew that, but actually Ben & Jerry's was a $5 correspondent course in making ice cream. And then they made ice cream that was in Burlington, Vermont, in a liquor store. That's where they started. They were then taking the ingredients from local areas that they can get the cream and they can get all of the other ingredients, and they then made their ice cream. It was a totally unique ice cream, as you know, and that ice cream then became what it is today, into a multi almost billion-dollar industry. Now, how do they stay unique still today? Well, they still remain relevant by tapping into community. And the one thing that I absolutely love is how they went in and they tapped into many different communities, and they asked all of the communities to take pictures and post it on Instagram, and to just take the pictures of what community is to them, not necessarily just even around ice cream, although they could if they wanted to, but what is the community to them? Within their own community. What does it mean to them? And people took part. And then they took the pictures and they awarded winners to those pictures. And they took the winners and they posted them up on billboards in their own community. And then they put their names up on the billboards and they made them stars in their own community, saying, this is what community is to you in your own community. Then they reached out to them and they said, we not only want to do that, but we're actually going to then come into your community and we're going to highlight you even further. And we're going to now start storytelling and helping this community to be more connected. And they started to help them to create more of this connectedness by furthering more of the photo taking and more of the storytelling through articles and blogs and things that told the story about those communities, encourage people in that community to tell those stories, and they would build websites for the communities to tell why that community was so special. That to me was so H to H, so inclusive, and so something that you would never see a large brand doing in today's age, or think about how can we tap in to somebody or someone and actually make their day, put their artwork or their photography up on a billboard in their own community and actually make them feel special. Talk about an experience. So that is something that I just think, wow, that blew me away. When I heard that, I just thought, how can I not share that experience?
That's an awesome story, BK. And what I love about it most is it has nothing to do with ice cream. You know, it's an ice cream company, but it really has nothing to do with ice cream. And sometimes we just have to step away from what our company is about, what our product or service offering is, and just get to know people and be human. And I think that's exactly what they did. It's a beautiful story. I would expect nothing less from you. So I appreciate it. And thank you for coming in and batting cleanup here at the end of the show. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. And congrats again. Well done. Bravo, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for everything that you've done. You've been a great teacher and mentor as well. So I definitely look up to you, and I'm so glad for our friendship, and keep it up, man.
Oh, likewise. Cheers.
All right. That was my man, Brian Kramer. And thank you all for staying here to the end. I promised you one last story, and I'm going to cheat a little bit because I'm actually going to have somebody else tell the story. You see, I tell stories all the time. I'm a keynote speaker. I wrote a book. I blog. I host a show. I'm always telling customer experience stories. And it's hard to pick a favorite one because there are so many of them. But I decided, since I asked everybody else to find their favorite story, that I was going to share with you my favorite story. And my favorite story happens to be from somebody else. And one of the things that I do when I share this story in presentations is I just let the story speak for itself. So I'm not going to have any introduction.
One of my absolute favorite customer experiences as a customer happened for me at Children's Hospital. I was with my youngest son and my wife. My youngest son was having surgery, which is, fills me with a ton of anxiety and a ton of fear and makes me a ball of nerves. And I'm expected in the dynamic of my family to also be emotionally strong support for everybody else. So we get through the whole surgery. You sit there for hours just waiting, nervous, then you take down a whole bunch of information, what the outpatient care is like, and you want to make sure that you don't forget any of it. My son is fussy, in pain, crying, and all the way out, I go into the restroom and wash my hands. I'm washing my hands and I look up and I see on the mirror, "Hang in there, Dad." And it just felt like at the perfect time, somebody put their hand on my shoulder and was support for me. Someone I didn't know, because I knew they thought about me and they thought about my experience and what I was going through in the first moment of the entire day, where I could be vulnerable just within myself. And I just thought that is such a thoughtful exercise that somebody went through to figure out where was the perfect touch point to put a hand on my shoulder.
Folks, that's what it's all about. I love that story because you can feel his emotion. You can listen to all of the detail, right? He's in the bathroom. It's the first moment of the day where he can just let his guard down for a second. He's expected to be the strong one in his family. It's the perfect message at the perfect time. And the best part about this story is that it doesn't cost anything. It's a sign on a mirror. It's that human to human aspect that Brian talked about understanding your customer. Or maybe in this case, I mean, I guess he's the customer because he's probably paying the bill, even though the patient is his son. But understanding what they're going through and being able to give them something when they most need it. And I think if we've learned anything in the last 2 years of the pandemic, it is that as consumers, we want to spend money with the organizations that are going to have our back when the chips are down. We want to work with companies that we know are looking out for us and are going to take care of us. And so many companies have stepped up in the last couple of years to really do that. Others have stumbled and have sort of shown that maybe they're just in it for a buck. And ultimately, what they're seeing is what a lot of organizations are seeing, which is consumers are willing to switch. It's not that hard to find another dentist. It's not that hard to find another florist or another restaurant to go to or another grocery store. And so consumers are doing that because their expectation today is that you treat them as a human, that you understand what they're going through. And I think that story about Children's Hospital is just so beautiful. Hey, thank you so much for sticking with us through our special 100th episode of The Experience Maker. I want to thank all of my guests today. Man, you guys are all rock stars. I know James Dodkins is, he trademarked CX rock star, but I believe all of you guys are rock stars. Thank you so much for sharing all of your stories. I really appreciate it. And thank you, dear viewer and listener, for being with us for 100 episodes. I'm going to keep doing more episodes as long as I keep having amazing guests come and teach us about customer experience. I invite you to come back tomorrow at noon Eastern for our next episode. It'll be episode 101, and we're back every Thursday at noon Eastern live on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. I'm Dan Gingiss, the Experience Maker. Thanks so much for being here. Take care.